BravOGs here, where we mention it all. So pay attention, please, and be cool. Don't be all like uncool. Hello, everybody. BravOGs here. It has been quite a minute since I have hopped on here and gave you my thoughts. So it's been a minute, and we got several shows to go over. So let's just dive right in. This episode, I'm just going to be kind of doing recaps and just my thoughts again on some of the shows that are currently airing. Southern Charm is almost done with their season, so is Southern Hospitality. So I will touch on those two and also just kind of talk about the Housewives. Beverly Hills is nearing the end of their current season, and I'm just going to kind of give a brief synopsis, I guess, of my opinions from Salt Lake City. And we also have Summerhouse that just started, so before we waste any more time, let's just dive right in. So, Southern Charm. They're trying to make Shep happen. It's not gonna happen. It seems like they're really trying to paint Sienna as the villain in this arc. Although the painful portrayal of Shep seemingly receiving this long awaited karma with his love and lust life, it's kind of reminiscent of Scandival, where they tried to give him like the redemption arc this season. It almost seems like they're trying to portray Shep as the guy who would never settle, and he's finally on the other end of this. And now we should almost feel empathy for him that he's finally fallen in love, quote unquote, and it's not reciprocated. He's completely unsure about himself and this relationship status, and his love bombing is completely uncharacteristic of the Shep we've seen on the show the past 10 years, which honestly is a little bit enduring to finally witness Shep falling for someone who seemingly has the upper hand. As most of you know are aware, Sienna has recently posted several TikToks explaining her side of things. Although listening to her commentary seems kind of dragged out and long winded, providing, I think, minimal details, she did kind of provide receipts regarding the whole Whitney Raya debacle. As Whitney and Miss Patricia have been gossiping and alluding to all season that Sienna was just fame hungry and she reached out to Whitney first on Raya, kind of making it seem like she was grasping at anyone she could get her sticky little hands on. Sienna showed her super minimal conversation with Whitney, proving that Whitney direct messaged Sienna first and asked how she was doing, to which she replied, "Good, how about you?" And that was it. If I'm going to claim every guy in my past who has randomly reached out to me and asked what's up without the conversation going absolutely anywhere after that was anything serious or gossip worthy, it's just giving reaching, inflated ego, ergo, Whitney. Not that I have much sympathy for Shep, but the way Whitney was like berating Shep at that one guys' dinner they had at his house with Miss Patricia about this information was making it seem like Shep doesn't have as much money or charisma or connections as Whitney. Hence all the reasons Sienna reached out to him first. I think it was just pathetic on his end. I know Whitney was drunk, or as Miss Patricia said, he was just jet lagged. Whatever this was indicative of who Whitney is as a person. He thinks his shit doesn't stink. He thinks he's just the cat's fucking meow, and it it was not giving, especially with the receipts that Sienna provided. It was not giving that at all. It just makes him look like a jealous infant. All in all, though, I think it was super entertaining watching Shep absolutely squirm and second guess reality of his relationship. But it's kind of justice for all of us out there who have had guys or girls that have treated us like shit in the past and made us think we were not as worthy or on the same level as them in the past. It's nice to know even those type of guys can be majorly humbled, even if it wasn't us doing the humbling. I will say though, in the most recent episode, I was proud that Shep actually had like a self revelation at the end of the episode. He was kind of talking to Madison on the boat after Sienna had bailed on yet another event, and Shep was like, maybe I've built myself up way too much in my head. Like, who am I? Nobody. And he didn't do it from what I felt in like a self deprecating way. It was almost like, I'm nobody special. I've spent so many years chasing and thinking about the next best thing when really I'm just like everybody else and I need to stop acting like I'm the greatest catch in the world. So for Shep, I will say that was a little redeeming, but it's kind of hard not to humble yourself when you've kind of really been put in your place. But it's just so painful to watch that someone is so not into somebody and they just don't get it. No matter what their relationship was in the past month or a couple months or a couple weeks, people's feelings can change. And if you don't recognize that, then you kind of have no one to blame but yourself. I mean, everyone was trying to tell Shep, like, look, just maybe it was something at one point, but it's not anymore. And you can't keep holding on to something that wasn't real or isn't what it is today. But gaining entertainment from watching Shep this season, I think is a great segue for me to discuss Taylor. I think she's got to go. Did I feel for her when Shep broke her heart after convincing her to quit her job, travel around, berate her intelligence, and cheat on her? Absolutely 100%. Did I absolutely see and empathize with her about how that relationship absolutely broke her and how hurt she was, especially at the reunion 2 seasons ago? Abso-fucking-lutely. But my sympathy stopped for her as soon as she became the ultimate bitter ex and the epitome of a pick-me throughout last season. Not taking accountability for trying to figure out her situationship with Austin and completely choosing to be a pick-me over her true friendship with Olivia, and not really understanding how messed up it was. I mean, I get it. She's happy with a new guy, Gaston, but her trauma from her relationship with Shep is kind of making her unbearable to watch this season. Dare anyone speak about Gaston's past or inform her of the likely true gossip heard around the small town, she completely flips out and just bails on all gatherings and attacks whoever the messenger is, which, if you need to remove yourself from a situation for your mental health, absolutely support that. But please do it off camera. Like, she's just coming off as just a bitter ex, giving Shep so much attention from her, questioning his new relationship. It's coming across super jealous. Like, let it go, Elsa. You got yourself a new man who doesn't have the balls to even come around your group of friends, so just go off and live your never been happier life in your fairy tale land. I mean, seeing Shep squirm and be humbled so badly should kind of be enough for her to just be in the presence of it. I don't think she needs to try to insert herself or try to make Shep feel even bad. Like, he's getting his karma, and she should be happy that she's even there to witness it. But maybe this is also due to the fact that it's come out that there's been a ton of scenes cut out of the girls talking and moving on from these past occurrences and building their friendships and kind of having more fun together. We didn't really get to see that much because, let's be honest, Southern Charm has always kind of been more about the guys and their storylines. But I think it would have been nice to see Taylor kind of, make way or mend some of the friendships. Like, I think that would have been a little bit redeeming for her storyline. But what we're left with is just her looking like the bitter ex that still has a hang up on Shep. So, this most recent episode, I'm sorry, I love Craig so much, but Craig was so annoying this episode. He was coming off so hypocritical with the whole JT situation. He kept saying JT can't even apologize. Well, Craig, it seems like you were relaying the information you heard from JT incorrectly or maybe misleading, if I'm being nice. So where was your apology for basically turning everyone against JT? Like, granted, JT doesn't need any help digging his own grave sometimes, but I think Craig perceived what JT was saying in a certain way, which is his truth, but the way Craig relayed it, trying to state that JT specifically said these things as facts when there was no video evidence and no other witnesses, Shep corroborating Craig's version of events. I'm actually proud of Shep that he spoke the truth and said, I never heard JT say that. And I also respect Taylor for speaking up as well, saying JT can say and do dumb things sometimes, but I don't believe he ever called Miss Patricia a bitch, and I've never heard him talk about a woman that way. I was proud of Taylor in that moment because we all saw that JT even pissed Taylor off, bringing up the whole Sally, Gaston, past relationship stuff. But Taylor did seem like a real friend in that moment and say, look, like, JT has his faults, but I truly don't believe he is saying the things that Craig said he said. But what I'm wondering is, why the hell didn't Venita stand up for her man? Like, if you have the balls enough to sneak in his hotel room and try to mount him to relieve all his stress, after he already turned you down once before and told you he was seeing someone, like, Venita annoys the hell out of me. I was actually comparing this particular situation between Shep and Sienna with Venita and JT. Like, Venita, I feel, is the female version of Shep in this particular situation. You're head over heels for someone that doesn't like you. Like, take a fucking hint. It's so very cringy to watch. So I know in the past episode it really made Venita look like a homewrecker, as she said, but she did clarify something, saying that one scene where she made JT dinner, invited him over, and that's when JT kind of told Venita, like, hey, I have a girlfriend. Apparently that scene happened after the Bahamas. So in that regard, I guess I do kind of understand a little bit more why Vanita did that. But again, like if a guy likes you, like he's gonna make it known. It's gonna be very obvious. And I think there's just such a difference between a guy flirting and having flirty banter. But like Vanita was kind of taking it to a point where she was like, he is 100% into me. I'm throwing myself at him. Girl, if you straddle a fucking guy and throw yourself at him and he turns you down, like he's just not that into you. I don't know. Just Vanita's been rubbing me the wrong way this season. I think she's just so trying to force something that isn't there, and just I don't know. It it kind of irks me, and I just think it's bottom line it's just cringy. Anyway, enough about the rest of them. I want to talk about the Craig and Paige situation. So, when the news broke on December 30th, I literally told my husband, I am more upset about them breaking up than if him and I were to end our marriage. Only joking, of course, but that was to say I love them, Paige and Craig, both with their flaws no less. But now that we're in the latter half of February, this situation has gotten kind of sticky. Okay, so I'm just going to briefly go through the kind of rough timeline of how this all happened. So for those that don't know, here's like a super minimized recap of what's gone down since the news broke. So Paige announces on her podcast at the end of December that her and Craig have called it quits. She said Craig was the best boyfriend she's ever had, so supportive, but the breakup was essentially mutual. Craig is silent for weeks. Then he breaks his silence via Instagram video, essentially saying, he's really hurt. He was blindsided, but Paige is great. Don't come for her, blah, blah, blah. In the meantime, Paige is being spotted at the Philly Eagles football game with this guy, Joe D'Amelio, who is like a senior VP of like a sports marketing firm, who coincidentally was engaged up until the end of 2024. His ex-fiancée makes a video alluding that Joe may not have been the most faithful towards her at the end of their relationship, also citing that a self-proclaimed girl's girl, aka Paige, may have been indulging in not so platonic messages with Joe before their breakup. Bam. Rumors start swirling everywhere that Paige is a cheater, she's already moved on from Craig, and possibly before they even broke up. Also during this time, Austin, Craig's castmate from Southern Charm, goes on Watch What Happens Live and confirms that the rumors about Paige moving on don't seem to be rumors and are true, that Paige is with somebody else, and that Craig is navigating their breakup still and doesn't really want to get involved. However, Austin never said that Paige cheated on Craig. Let's just make that clear right there. So Paige comes out on another episode of her podcast, Giggly Squad, saying that she never addresses serious stuff, and although she never wants to be a victim, she also doesn't want to be portrayed as a villain. She states that she's never once cheated on Craig during their relationship, mentally, emotionally, physically, so all these cheating allegations can be put to rest, since Craig has stayed silent on the matter. She also states that they broke up over Thanksgiving weekend, and Craig asked her not to say anything about their breakup because the press tour for his new season of Southern Charm was just starting, and he wanted to act like everything was still okay, and she was more than accommodating to. But I guess once pictures came out that Craig was at a party somewhere close to New Year's acting single, as Paige puts it, then she said she assumed he was ready for their breakup announcement. She said she texted Craig letting him know that she was announcing their breakup on her upcoming podcast and that he never responded to her. Also note, Craig was on Watch What Happens Live prior to Christmas, like at the beginning of December, beginning mid-December, also acting like they were still together and no issues in sight, which was weird now that we kind of look back on it. So all of this seems pretty sus on Craig's end at this point, but then he makes his first appearance interview post-breakup announcement on Watch What Happens Live, and he drops some bombs of his own. So Andy Cohen asked Craig about why he was acting like they weren't even broke up when he was previously on the show, back in the beginning of December. And Craig claims that, look, Paige flip-flops on a lot and she has meltdowns occasionally about her future, about other things. So he said when she expressed she thinks they should break up, Craig really didn't take it too seriously because it seems over Thanksgiving, Paige was asking him to plan a Europe vacation for them for over New Year's and asked him weekly not to break up with her. So, I didn't think it was real, according to Craig. He then said on Watch What Happens Live, the week after Thanksgiving, and he was staying at Paige's place that week. And this is right around the time that he did Watch What Happens Live. Although Paige was not staying at her place and she was out of state for work, and after his Watch What Happens Live appearance, where he acted like everything was fine, Paige then kind of officially broke up with him over the phone after 3 years together. So Craig was also asked if he thought there was any truth to the cheating rumors, and he stated he did not put that narrative out there, so those rumors have nothing to do with him, and he doesn't feel like he should have to dispel anything because he was the one that was dumped and he's the ex, and he wants no part of any ongoing or nuanced rumors. He finally, in a roundabout way, says no, he doesn't think she cheated, but it was never really like a firm statement, and I can't really blame him for that. I mean, if all this came out and she's moved on so quickly, like it does kind of put a doubts in someone's mind. So he also says that love is enough and him and Paige still want the same things, marriage, kids, but Paige just doesn't want that with him. She wants it with other people. He also claims Paige lied on her podcast, stating this was when Paige said that this was a mutual breakup, and a few other tidbits, which obviously is not going to sit well with Paige. So during all this back and forth with the actual two people in the breakup, both of the castmates from their respective shows, Paige with Summerhouse and Craig with Southern Charm, have been coming to their defense, while seemingly rebuffing the other person's claims or stances. Like Amanda, Sierra, and Lindsay were clearly in defense of Paige, and Austin, Miss Patricia were in defense of Craig, which causes more turmoil on both sides. Also, then Paige was recently spotted at the Super Bowl holding hands with Joe D'Amelio and staying in the same hotel room. Now, because Craig kind of refuses to officially come out and state that Paige is not a cheater, cameras pick back up to film some of their current drama happening to get both Craig and Paige's current state of mind and opinions about the fallout, which we witnessed clips from Craig's second half trailer teaser for the remainder of Southern Charm season and a clip of Paige saying at the end of the Summerhouse initial trailer for the remainder of the season, "Oh, you don't want to defend me in the cheating rumors when I caught you texting two bitches during the duration of our relationship? You're dead to me." While Craig is mopey and Shep and Austin were there claiming that this came out of nowhere and that she even asked Craig to buy her a ring, to which he states he did. Oh boy. Now, this is kind of hard for me to share my input because I really do like both Craig and Paige. They both have their faults. Craig has been caught in a few lies over the course of knowing him, and Paige has also admitted that she feels almost bad for Craig because she acknowledges she has changed a lot since they first started dating and her priorities have changed. I do completely understand that. You can grow, you can, your priorities can always change in your life, and, you can always figure out that the person that you're with is may not as not as good for you, but just doesn't align with how your priorities and your life have changed. However, I do find some sus things on Paige's end though, because I feel like most people are siding with her in the sense that a girl can change her mind or priorities and she's very independent and on, which I do agree with. If something's not right for you, I hope and encourage anyone to do the right thing for themselves. However, since Paige is so strongly proclaiming how independent she is and no one can tell her what to do or force her into anything, if you really caught Craig texting other women, two at that, during your relationship, you're telling me Paige is not going to be the self-proclaimed independent and stand on her business, that she would not have ended it with Craig if that was really the case? Craig, I think, can be many things, but I do not believe for 1 second he would have ever risked losing Paige by entertaining another woman at all. Craig can be many things. He can bend the truth, he can be emotionally immature, but he is absolutely loyal. Secondly, I know Paige is more of a relationship girly, but I don't think you can leave a 3-year relationship that was so entwined and entangled with love and family and basically getting Craig to go along with whatever timeline you wanted and changed your mind about, and already be in a relationship so quickly. Unless this was something she had on the back burner. I'm not saying I think she cheated on Craig, and I don't think Paige is even that kind of girl, but maybe there were inklings. Maybe she was already emotionally checked out of her relationship before she actually left. Maybe. For how independent Paige is, although she says on her podcast she is single, I think she's saying that because she knows the implications of already moving on with someone that quickly would insinuate otherwise. But she's also not going to start holding hands and sharing hotel rooms with a guy when she's still proclaiming to be single at the most notorious and one of the biggest events in the US. It just seems sus to me. I don't know. Now, do I think Craig could have confirmed that he firmly believes Paige did not cheat on him during that relationship? Sure, but you guys know he is undoubtedly still heartbroken, and her moving on so quickly and semi-publicly maybe has put some doubt into his mind, and I really don't think he should be at fault for that. Everybody wants to take the role reversal approach, so let's do that for 1 second here. If Craig dumped Paige and was always claiming to be an independent man and things were not right for him, and very soon after he was seen holding hands and sharing a hotel room and being more than friendly with another woman, and if that woman just broke off her engagement and her ex fiance came out with claims insinuating Craig was texting her semi inappropriate things before either of their relationships had ended, y'all, Craig would undoubtedly be the most vile villain we've probably ever seen since Scandival. Which I'm not saying at all Paige should be viewed that way, but all the gigglers out there who blindly support Paige and her decisions, you always have to look at things if the shoe was on the other foot. And I know that Paige does this a lot. I have seen some Giggly Squad episodes. I've seen clips. I've listened to the podcast a couple times. But she always likes to play this. Like, if the shoe was on another foot, if a woman was doing this instead of a man, well, let's do that in this situation. What if it was a guy doing to Paige what Paige is doing to Craig? I mean, they are broken up. She's free to move on. But the point is, I don't think Craig is being unreasonable to not crusade for Paige denying these cheating rumors. Anywho, after all that, I do like them both. I want the best for them. At one point in time, they may have been the best thing for one another, but people grow, and you can either grow together or you grow apart. Any hindrance of animosity you may be detecting from me towards Paige is honestly purely jealousy because Craig is probably the biggest crush I've had on an unattainable person or Bravo celebrity in a long time. So if I was in her shoes, I would never let that man go. All right, switching gears before I let this get out of control here. Okay, so moving on to Summerhouse. We're only a few episodes in, so just quickly off the cuff thoughts here. Jesse and West. You know, I like their friendship. I think they had a great first season. I'm still very annoyed about West's ability to speak his voice behind closed doors, as into the press, but then act like a battered little church mouse when confronted by the actual person he scorned. Sierra, I think she was a little harsh with her comments about his appearance and his hair, but she clocked him by saying you care way more about the outside perception of you than the feelings of the person you actually hurt. I think she was spot on with that because it's absolutely true. I think their relationship will never be how it was, but I think now that it was addressed, there's hopefully room for peaceful cohabitation. But Sierra's comment about kind of wanting to make out with him, yikes. I mean, I get it. Sometimes you just want all the drama and hurt to be over or at least pushed aside, and I think it's hard going from kind of one extreme to the other. Like last summer and throughout the fall and beginning of winter, they were basically dating. They had a fun, playful relationship, and I think West really helped bring Sierra's fun, playful side out on display last year. I mean, West is a fun and funny guy, and when you're drinking and inhibitions are low, it's hard not to remember the lighthearted goofiness and charisma West once had and directed at Sierra. But when you sober up, you remember how this person hurt you and played you, and that's kind of when your head and your heart are at odds. Bottom line, I like Sierra's standoff stance towards West, knocked him down a peg, but I think now that they've kind of had their talk, they can begin to coexist and maybe even have fun together this summer without hooking up. But I think West totally let his season one, minus the reunion, go to his head. I think he thinks he's kind of hot shit now, and so I love that Sierra just was kind of like, who the fuck are you? Nobody. Um, so Jesse and Lexi. Um, I think they could be cute together. I mean, Jesse came out of the gate super hot with all this girlfriend talk when he's only known Lexi for about 36 hours at this point. And I do think it's entertaining how smitten he is, but if I was Lexi, I would have knocked him down when he asked if I consider myself to be a ditz. Like, okay, sir, let me show you exactly what a ditz would not do, and that would be to ice your ass. Continue to be polite, but give him the cold shoulder. Don't laugh at his stupid jokes and make him realize you are no dum dum that will cater to your ordinary flirting. It was endearing when they did get deep with one another, Jesse with his cancer journey and Lexi with the death of her close friend. I just didn't realize sharing such intense stories with one another would immediately lead to making out, but I guess at this point, of both of their stories was, to seize the day, which is exactly what they did. And let's remember there is editing involved. There was probably more talk in between them sharing those deep life stories and then going to making out, but, you know, gotta love editing. Oh, Lindsay. Lindsay. Anyone that's listened to my past episodes can clearly gather I am not the biggest Lindsay fan. However, that being said, I am happy for her that she got everything she wanted, especially in such a short period of time. Do I think it's weird a person is in the summer house? Yes. But it begs the question, is Summer House more about a fun group of people partying in the Hamptons, or is Summer House now more about following the lives of the early OGs of the show? Anyway, I think Lindsay is still kind of a narcissistic bitch. I think it's strange that she had to go through her entire dating history before announcing her pregnancy to the other housemates, but everyone, except Jessie, seemed excited for the reveal. I thought it was a super bitch move, though, to leave her giant ultrasound picture on the mantle for Carl to be welcomed by as soon as he arrived the next day. But hey, that's Lindsay for you. Also, the fact that all the Craig haters out there saying Craig should have stuck up for Paige regarding the cheating rumors, I think that same should I think that should be given the same energy as saying Lindsay maybe should have given Carl a heads up about her pregnancy announcement. I know I'm probably not in the majority here. I know this is probably a super unpopular opinion, but I think it's kind of giving the same energy and nothing major, but just being like, hey, since 9 months ago, I thought this was going to be us. I just wanted to let you know so you didn't hear it in the news that I'm pregnant. I don't think it had to be a super long winded or emotional thing, but I, I do kind of feel like Lindsay should have said something to Carl. But, you know, that's just me. I don't know. I guess she doesn't owe Carl anything, and I wouldn't expect Lindsay to even consider anyone else's feelings except her own. But I thought that may have been the noble thing to do, I guess. But Lindsay's not really a stand up role model. Hey, that's my opinion! So, one last thing. Gabby needs to stop riding Lindsay's dick so hard. You think it's weird Carl's back at the summer house, Gabby, because his ex fiance is there and he's sober? At least he's going to stick around for the parties and try to meet somebody. You are blindly one sided and you're leaving the 4th of July party weekend at the summer house to go back home with the pregnant girl? Like, Gabby's never really given anything, in my opinion, except being able to report what the inside of Lindsay's ass looks like. Maybe she'll redeem herself throughout the season, but if she's going to do that, she needs to start giving something else and stop being Lindsay's little side chick. I am very interested to see how the whole drama unfolds between Paige and Kyle this season. It seems like it's coming up even in the very next episode. I mean, by the time I post this, it may have already aired. So these are just my thoughts beforehand. While they were filming this Summer House season, this was kind of in the prime of the whole Kyle and Craig feud regarding Craig sponsoring and investing in dun 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 a spritz product other than Loverboy. What's interesting is in the teaser we see this long-winded text Kyle had sent to Paige, and they were trying to make it seem like it was all about Craig at first, but the online sleuths were able to read the entire text, and it's mostly about Hannah, which I'm loving because I am not a fan of Hannah. So Kyle's text to Paige says, honestly, beyond discouraged with Craig too. This wouldn't be a topic today if it wasn't for him and about a dozen lies. I can't believe this is where Hannah's at 3 years later. I'm fucking apeshit. First her telling Alex Cooper I cheated on Amanda right up until our wedding and all the pain we fucking suffered because of that podcast when it was at its peak, which I never fucking confronted you or her about. Now this? You've been with her this entire time and you are now out here saying that you wish you stood up for her season 5? As in being Hannah. Now this? Is this what you think as well? Hannah had the lowest Q rating entire network, aka likability, and just ask blank, which is a producer, drunk, and he'll tell you. Sorry to barrage you with this. I was just heated and in the moment. I can't vent to Amanda because she's basically divorced me for potentially hurting you guys' friendship with the Sprit stuff, and I don't understand how lies keep getting blah blah blah, and then it was cut off. So because I saw the clip of scenes for this upcoming week, Paige does address that this text was a lot about Hannah and Craig. So I do agree with Paige that, like, if Kyle has a problem with Hannah and Craig, he probably should have taken it up with them specifically. But obviously, Hannah and Kyle are not on speaking terms. So I don't think Kyle would have the balls to text Hannah when they're not even on speaking terms. But I do think it's unfair that he's kind of dumping all of this on Paige and kind of getting Paige to do like his war bidding or at least be the middleman between so, messages of Kyle's disapproval can get through to Hannah. But I don't really have a dog in this fight because I think Kyle's kind of a piece of shit and I don't like Hannah whatsoever, which makes it really hard to like continue to try and support Paige all the time because I think Hannah's just the worst. I think she did it to herself on Summerhouse. I don't think she was likable at all. And yeah, she had a really bad season, but I think that's just how she is. In my personal opinion, and I know I sound like such a hater, but I don't think Hannah would be anywhere without the support and the friendship that she has with Paige. I mean, yes, Hannah got her own Netflix special, but I mean, people talked about it for 2 seconds. I watched clips of it, and I know it's not the best way to like gauge a comedy special, but I don't think she's funny at all. I think she's annoying. I think she's tacky. I think the whole reason why Squad works between the two of them is because Hannah is so opposite from Paige. But I just don't like Hannah's vibe. I don't like anything about her, which makes it very hard for me to understand why Paige is so in step with her. I just don't like it. And no, Paige, you should not have defended Hannah more in season 5. Hannah looked like a fucking moron, and she dug her own grave, and I'm glad she's off the show. Okay, anyway, so Southern Hospitality, just the season's almost done. I think it was a pretty good season, but I'm just going to go really quick here. Quick fire on the cast in the season. Michaels, he's the new manager at Republic. I love him. I think he's very young, but seems very respectable, stands on business, and seems to have a good moral compass. I've liked his story this season about how his struggle of coming out to his mom and his parents was very difficult for him, and he wasn't really couldn't be himself and find his place, and still struggles with the relationship with his mom. So it's been, I have a lot of empathy for him. I do like watching his story and getting to know him, how he's so mature and just a godsend to Leva, I'm sure, managing Republic right now. It's endearing. I like watching him. I think he's a good addition, and everyone seems to respect him too, which I think is well deserved. I love Mia. She wasn't here the first couple episodes, or mostly the first half of the season. I'm glad she's back, even though she was missing. She just says it how it is. I mean, usually those kind of personalities like really intimidate me or like are kind of off-putting to me, but with Mia, I think it just fits, and I love it. Maddie and Joe. At first, okay, I really ship this relationship. He's like a doofus, but seems like a lovable doofus. It makes him a lot more likable this season, seeing how much he dotes on Maddie, and he's just really in love with her, I think. We've all seen him pining over her for years, and now that they're together, I like it. I was weary Maddie was going to get like annoyed with his blockheadedness quickly, but she also seems to really care for him too. Like when he cut his head open swimming in the pool and then had to go get, MRI because he got like a concussion or something. She was like really, really upset about that, and I was like, oh wow, she like really does care for him. I do hope this relationship lasts because deep down I think it's like real love here, especially on Joe's end. But in the last episode, Joe is taking their Vegas marriage very seriously. It wasn't an official marriage, it was just something fun that they kind of did while they were in Vegas for Maddie's DJing gig. But Joe was like, he was acting like they were actually married, referring to Maddie as his wife, like referencing, oh, is this what a wife does, blah, blah, blah. I think it's kind of freaking Maddie out. I mean, they've only been dating at the time this aired for like 4 or 5 months at this point. I mean, Maddie begins to casually like look for places to live because she lives with a few other girls, but doesn't really affirm with Joe that this is necessarily a place for both of them. This obviously freaks Joe out, and I saw someone come up with this theory on TikTok, and I thought it was so interesting. This creator says that because Joe has been in love with Maddie for so long, it's almost like in his mind, they have been together way longer than in actuality, like for several years. But for Maddie, she's only kind of seen Joe as a friend and this kind of present with the newness of their relationship. So it seems like they're on completely different planes when it comes to the longevity of their relationship. So we'll have to continue watching to see how this plays out. I mean, she's Maddie's already starting to feel smothered by them. I hope they can find a balance because as of right now, when this was airing, they were only together 4 months. Like that is very soon. TJ, and Joe feuding the first couple episodes. They had a come to Jesus moment about the Luann situation of it all and how TJ completely confirmed that Joe did have sexual relations with that woman. But it was something that was no secret. Everybody knows it. It's fucking Luann de Lesseps, okay? You guys did the dirty, okay? It's nothing to be ashamed of, dude. Luann's amazing. But so apparently TJ was holding confusion and resentment towards Joe because years ago on a drunken night, Joe had, from what I gathered, fondled TJ before passing out. leaving TJ wondering if their friendship was anything more when Joe seemingly tried to just play it off that he was so drunk he thought TJ was a girl or a girlfriend at the time. Kind of sus, but they addressed it and seemed to move on with Joe claiming that he does not swing both ways and it was nothing personal. And although TJ proclaimed it meant something to him because it confused him and confused the status of their relationship and perhaps Joe's sexual orientation, they did agree to move past it, building their friendship back as just friends. I was happy to see them back on the right track, but I don't know. I don't know if this is really resolved, so we'll have to see if this situation gets brought up anymore or if some explanation seems to happen on maybe the reunion. Maybe we got to wait for that to figure out exactly what happened with the situation. So the whole thing with Brad and Lake, I think it's messy. I think there's jealousy. I think they both think that the other one should have to do the chasing, but I don't see this going anywhere besides some drunken makeouts and like heavy flirting. Neither will commit, and neither will take a backseat in this situationship. However, the last couple episodes, Lake has been saying that she kind of has this girlfriend that she's had over the years, not like official, but they're very comfortable with one another. She identified as kind of like sexually fluid. So Brad seems to be a speck in her past now. She's kind of more focused on this girl. I think her name is Shelly or Shelby. Um, but yeah, now she's kind of taking the forefront in Lake's life. I mean, Michael's is trying to, encourage Lake to talk about her family about this. And Lake is like, look, my family's very traditional. I respect my elders and their kind of way of thinking. And I'm just not at a place to officially confirm anything or, you know, ruffle the family feathers, I guess, which is kind of sad. If you're going to be yourself, like you should be yourself. But she's also very young. I think she still needs some time to kind of figure out, you know, who she wants to be with. What, like, I don't think it needs to have a label, and I don't think everyone needs to be addressed about this situation. So I'm definitely more on Lakeside in this situation. Um, now for the main problem of the whole season, Emmy and Will. This is just painful to watch. Emmy, you in danger, girl. Not only with Will constantly cheating, but your complete denial to believe anything is wrong with your relationship and thinking Will is 100% honest with you all the time. And I really can't take the epic meltdowns every time a true friend is telling Emmy what's really up. It's giving panic attacks because I think she knows deep down what's being said is true, and she's so far in denial land that she'll never find her way out. She is so fixated on becoming a lawyer's wife and being the little wife at home and being taken care of. I mean, you may have a roof over your head and baby daddy and money in the bank, but to quote Alison Dubois, he will never emotionally fulfill you. Ever. These treating rumors will be present forever because honestly, a drunk speaks sober thoughts. If Will has the audacity to come into your workplace and talk to your friends and your coworkers about how much he can't stand you, he's miserable and he hates your relationship. Do you think any of that will get easier with marriage or kids or time? No. I can see the future and it shows fake facade and absolute turmoil on the inside. But hey, people got to make their own mistakes and learn from them, right? At least it's good TV for us. It's sad that Emmy's sister, who is what, 8 years younger, sees her relationship with Will for what it is. She's very gentle about it, but says, I wouldn't be able to trust him with all these constant cheating rumors. And Emmy's so delusional and condescending when she's like, oh, you're so cute. When you're older, you'll understand the real dynamics of a true, trusting, lasting relationship. I mean, did this show turn into a comedy? On the most recent episode, Will was golfing with Joe and Brad and referred to Emmy as his backup. She's a great backup. Like, not his equal, not his partner, but a backup, which is so indicative of how he views her deep down. He also says he feels he owes it to her to marry her, not only because she stuck it out with him through law school, which I think he really means all the cheating rumors, but he said she's good at doing household chores. I mean, well, that's the definition of a marriage I definitely think will last, and not only last, but be an example of true love. I think Will loves her, but I don't think he's in love with her. Finally, Grace Lily. I think she's just a shitty friend. She's so conceited. Yeah, that's part of her charm, but the way she told Maddie that whole Vegas trip like wasn't about her and she's selfish and she was questioned like just after Grace was just questioned about why she was hours late to Maddie's DJ gig, where Maddie was literally featuring Grace in one of her songs. Like, the fucking audacity. You're only there because of Maddie. You've got to get you got your hotels, I'm sure, comped because of Maddie. You're getting exposure at a super popular day club in Vegas because of Maddie. And when someone calls you out on your own irresponsibility and no fucks given attitude, you project that it's not about them when it really was all about them. She's got to go, dude. She's barely been on the season, and I've hardly even missed having her on the screen. I know Maddie's fighting hard for her because Maddie said, there are parts in our relationship and our friendship where Grace has given 90% and Maddie's given 10%, and vice versa, where Maddie's done more for Grace and Grace hasn't given that much. But we haven't really seen that much of that. From what it seems like, Grace is always going to have herself as number one, and anyone that comes for her, she's just going to attack them with bullshit. Like, so I don't really. I think we could get more endearing people than Grace. I think she needs to go, and she doesn't even work at Republic anymore. So bye. Oh, I will say one more thing about Emmy and Will though. I think so. I guess next this upcoming week is the finale where it's going to be a prom because Emmy wanted to put on a prom like they do in law school for Will. Apparently, not only does it come out that Will took somebody else to his law school prom, but there's all these cheating rumors that he's been hooking up with someone or has hooked up with other girls while he's at law school. They need to pull a Kristen Doty and find this girl and bring her to the prom to confront Will, like the good old VPR days. I mean, this show, I think Southern Hospitality is the closest thing to a Vanderpump. So let's stick with the formula that works. Like, come on. Come on, Kristen Doty. Okay, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Here we go. Goodbye, Kyle. Kyle needs to go. She has been able to skate under the radar since season one because there was always bigger fish to fry or someone else's life was way messier than hers. She is finally being called out on her bitchiness and her hypocrisy and her mean girl mentality, and the chickens have come home to roost, and she cannot handle it. Kyle always wants all the attention, but only if it's good attention. She's dangled Morgan in our faces and Mauricio's face all last season, and now she's the one who shall not be named and can't understand why people would insinuate she's a lesbian now, or at least bisexual. People come up with their own conclusions if you do not address anything. She acts like she's so open, but she says nothing unless it's a bitchy comment at someone else's expense. I mean, she's really playing into the whole woe is me stance this season, which I can understand. You had this beautiful house filled with the family you and your husband built for many, many years, and now your children are grown. Mo has moved out on his own, and you are left with just an empty house. But there's a part of me that was like, you kind of did this to yourself. You played with fire, and you got burned. You gallivanted all around with Morgan last year, made out with her in her music video, picking her up and dropping her off at airport runs, getting tattoos together, showed, at least to us on the show, that you were annoyed and did not really seem to care about Mo. So you kind of reap what you sow. I do understand, though, how it can be upsetting that you feel your partner did not fight hard enough for you, which is really why I think Kyle is hurt about all of this. I think she felt she could have this like midlife lesbian crisis and your husband would fight for you even harder when that died down and he's not. But Kyle, were you fighting for him? I don't know. I don't think Mo's an angel. Do I think maybe he's cheated in the past? Maybe. But Kyle, if you want to stand on business, then let us know. Let us know that he cheated and that's the reason why you checked out of your marriage. Like let us kind of you let yourself in or let us all in on the rest of your life, but when it comes down to the nitty-gritty, you're like, "Okay, that's where I draw the line." Like stop. Like either come clean about all of it, tell us what's really going on, or leave the show. You either want the attention, but with all the attention comes negative attention as well. So you can't have just one. You have to take in both of them. And if you don't want to face the flames, then get the fuck out. And this whole texting PK situation is really what bothers me about this all. Kyle texting PK after him and Dorit separate is so completely wrong. Even if you're not good with Dorit at the time, of the two people, you're going to choose to text PK after hearing the news when it's been shown so many times that Dorit has confided in Kyle about the struggles in their marriage. And this finally comes to fruition where they're separating and act like you knew nothing about it and you text PK and don't even say a thing to Dorit, which is so crazy because Kyle, you went through this last season. You know exactly how it feels. Like, I just don't understand that. Kyle is completely delusional if she thinks her text to PK has no negative insinuations or connotations to Dorit. Like, come on. You are the farthest thing from a girl's girl. You are an absolute pick me. I really wish the other women pressed Kyle harder about how inappropriate it was. Yeah, they casually mentioned, well, if that was me, I wouldn't be okay with it. Like, go after her, girls. Go after her with the same energy you will cut Dorit at the knees with. The thing about this is that Kyle is so concerned with people assuming her text was referencing her and PK having a thing outside of a friendship. But first of all, no one thought that. And second, people were trying to get through to Kyle that this is not about a spousal betrayal between you and PK and Dorit. This is a friendship betrayal towards Dorit. Kyle could not compute this and discern between the two. Bottom line, it gives shady and it gives pick me and this show and shows the real kind of person Kyle is, in my opinion. Kyle just kept thinking, oh, people think I'm like trying to get with PK. Like, no, dude, what you said to him was completely inappropriate. Saying, oh, I would never repeat anything you said to me. That is 100% insinuating. Bitch to me all you want about Dorit and how horrible of a person she is, and I will never tell her what you tell me. That's exactly what that meant in layman's terms. Sorry. And the fact that I think it makes it even worse that she didn't even text Dorit. It didn't even have to be a deep thing. It could have been a simple, I'm so sorry to hear about your separation. Please let me know if there's anything I can do. Like, that's simple. It's not deep. I would send that to someone I wasn't that close with because and that's the thing. Like Kyle and Dorit were very close. And yes, they've had bumps in the road, but still, if that was a genuine friendship, at least on Kyle's end, I think she would have the gall to be like, hey, you mean at least something to me. I'm here for you if you need it. And that never happened until a lot later and not even in that nice of a form. So moving on from Kyle. Garcelle, I'm over her. Stop calling Bose out for being a friend to Dorit when you are a goddamn Sutton's mouthpiece for the last 3 seasons. This is not only evident towards the other women when Sutton is getting quote unquote attacked, but she even tried to be Sutton's mouthpiece to her own mother. Look, I think Garcelle is a great mother. She's a good actress, a good businesswoman, but I just don't like her interactions in this particular friend group. I honestly think Garcelle is jealous that Bose got an immediate connection with Dorit and not with her. I know this may not be for me to comment on, but I really feel like Garcelle immediately assumed she would bond first and most closely with Bose, and the fact that it was actually someone Garcelle obviously dislikes, I think bothers her down to her core. Like all the time she calls Dorit out, I'm I'm just like, Garcelle, if you're a real friend, like apply that same energy to Kyle. He is to Sutton what Bose is to Dorit right now. So, and Dorit's going through a really hard time. Sutton is not. Sutton's been kind of the fucking devil this season. I mean, I'll get to Sutton in a minute, but Dorit is really going through it this season. I mean, you can see she is really struggling, but in the midst of despair and transformation, sometimes is when you finally find your voice. I do hope Dorit lawyers up because Eric and Bose were completely right about PK being a snake in the grass after that one conversation Dorit said went so splendidly and he was so nice. You're getting played, Dorit. Protect yourself. This man is not being kind out of the genuine pure intentions. Men are fucking chameleons. They can change and adapt. But when someone shows you who they truly are, balls deep in heated arguments, believe them. If a man can leave after a fight for weeks at a time when you share 2 young children and he does not care to check in or be involved with their day-to-day lives, even if only for a few weeks, what makes you think he gives any more shits about you, Dorit? Lawyer up. It doesn't mean you have to file, doesn't mean you have to make any decisions, but you do need to protect yourself and your children when the day inevitably comes when he strikes. And I do think that's so indicative about how a guy or a man would treat his own children and not give 2 fucks about them. I think it says way more about himself when it comes to the children than it does in your spouse. I think if he can be that heartless with the kids, I think he's going to be 10 times more ruthless with a woman. That's just what I think. Now, Sutton, I flip flop on her like every episode. Some episodes I'm like, yes, like Sutton, call Kyle out on her bullshit. Be your authentic self. And other episodes, I'm like, you're doing too much and being too dramatic. I did get emotional when Sutton went to Georgia to her family home and gave more insight and detail to her past and her dad and her relationship with her mother. And I did find that to be really endearing and vulnerable side to Sutton. And since I kind of have a psychology background and degree, I'm always interested in learning more about people's past and upbringing, which has a direct correlation as to the person they mold themselves into as an adult. The most recent episode when she went after Dorit and was berating her because she doesn't have as much money as Sutton, that was just super classless. Sutton views worth with how much money you have in your bank, and that is so uncouth. I'm glad everyone, at least in their confessionals, had a negative reaction to this interaction, saying it was so embarrassing of Sutton and whoa, okay, but I wish people would have stopped her or told Sutton that she took it too far in the moment. Sutton was really playing into the victim act while simultaneously looking like the devil at the same time. I did laugh so hard at this one part though. So before Sutton's below the belt comments to Dorit had made a comment when Sutton came to the event all ready to rumble. Dorit says, I don't know which Sutton I'm going to get today, since sometimes Sutton can be fun and other times she can come in as a raging bull. So at the dinner when Sutton was revving her engine about to go balls deep about money and status, she makes a comment to Bose like, and how many people do you have inside of you today? And Bose was like, what the fuck? Like, one, me. I don't have several other voices in my head talking to me. Oh my God, I died when she said that. That was so funny because it's true. Sutton was like trying to, you know, Sutton was just trying to be something she's not, which is funny. But it did not land, and Bose clocked her right away. I thought it was hilarious. I think Bose is honestly the greatest addition to Beverly Hills in a long time. She's real. She calls it like she sees it. She had no preemptive loyalty to anyone coming into the season and also seems like an actual, like, genuine, kind person. Now, I know a lot of people are thinking she's like way up Dorit's ass, but it's like, I think Dorit needed a friend this season that was real with her, that was, you know, just saw past beyond her exterior and like really got to know Dorit for who she is on the inside. And I'm not saying Dorit's like the best person ever, but I do empathize that she is going through a really hard time right now, and I think she really needed a friend, and I think Bose was a great friend for her. I do love Bose's reactions and her responses to shade. She'll just be like, "Oof, oh, oh, girl," like I love those. Like, something she clocked the shadiness as soon as she says something like that. So I do really like Bose in that aspect. It's I like seeing her journey. I think it's sad about how her first husband passed away, but now she seems to have found love with a new guy, and even though she's in her late 40s, she's kind of sharing her fertility journey because, she would like another kid, and her boyfriend would want at least one kid, but I think it's hard because of all the bad conditions she had to go through with her first pregnancy, which she ended up losing, and then she had a daughter after that, but there was still a lot of complications. So I just want the best for her. I think she's a genuine, really good person, and I like her. I think she's a good addition to the show. Erica, I did like her this season. I like when she kind of stays out of things but still gives her honest opinion. I do wish she would kind of speak up more about the hypocrisy she hears and sees in real time instead of just making super valid points in her confessionals. I wish she kind of said these things in the heat of the moment. And some examples were, Garcelle telling Bose to stop being Dorit's mouthpiece, and Erica says in her confessional, "Oh, Garcelle, hush up. You've been Sutton's mouthpiece forever." And then the whole text that Kyle sent to PK, Erica told Dorit it like wasn't bad at all. Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was. And then just Erica not really calling Kyle out on her bullshit most of the time. But all in all, I do like Kyle. I like Erica this season. I'm excited to see her home renovations. I think she's finally emerging from this difficult, years that she's had. I think she's finally emerging, and I think your home should be your safe haven, and I'm glad that she's, redoing it and making it her own for real now that she's more comfortable with where she's at in her life, and it'll be a reflection of that too. So I'm excited to see that. Now, Jennifer Tilly, I wasn't going to comment on her. Obviously she's a friend of the show. Obviously she's a little kooky and odd in, more of an endearing way than not. But the recent rumors have come out about her that are alleging that the cast is annoyed of her and doesn't want her to return next season. And I was kind of confused as to why. But then she was on Watch What Happens Live this past week, and oh my God, she's too much. She honestly wouldn't shut the fuck up. I don't know if she was nervous or she was like playing into a bid of some sort, but by the end of the episode, I was like screaming at my TV, like, Andy, tell her to shut the fuck up. I can take her in small doses, and she does seem to be like a genuine friend, but in person, I don't know if I would be able to handle her. She's just too much. I think she also needs to call Sutton out some more. So I'm gonna end this. I know it's been a long one here. We had a lot to catch up on, but I'm gonna end this with just kind of giving my overall thoughts about the Salt Lake City season. What a great season. Bronwyn, I think she was a great addition. I love what she brought this season. She stood up to the OGs, which I loved, but was also a little messy herself. I think she was endearing, but she needs to stop chasing Lisa. It does suck when you thought you were better friends with someone and realize they don't see you the same way. But now that you know where you stand, I expect you to bring it next season and become the head bitch in charge, the HBIC. But don't get too cocky and too big for your britches like I think Heather has become. I do think there's some shadiness there with the whole necklace situation, saying that she bought it. And then on Watch What Happens Live after the reunion, she told Andy she never bought anything from the jewelers. So, like, do I think Bronwyn fibs a little bit here and there? Yes. But I don't think it's anything that's like damaging or, lying so badly that it's anything serious. Like, who the fuck cares if you bought this jewelry or not? I don't. Um, Heather. Heather really bothered me this season. She acts like she's the judge and jury and no one can be accepted in the friend group without her approval. Like, please. You are trying to give Queen Bee energy when you just come off as an annoying gnat. Heather's always been an ass kisser, and usually to the actual Queen Bee of the group. The first several seasons, she kissed Jen Shah's ass, and now she shifted to Lisa Barlow. But Angie completely clocked her when she mentioned, I think in the beginning of the season, that Angie said in high school, Heather was always trying to infiltrate the cool group, but never really got there. I think that assessment is so completely indicative of who she is now as an adult. After the receipts, proof, timeline, I think her head got way too inflated, and now she has a table with the cool girls. She has turned into just a mean Gretchen Wieners. Angie, I've done a complete 180 on her since the start of a few seasons back when she was introduced. I think she's hilarious now. Like, sometimes she can't let things go, but she has the funniest insults, high body count hair, and her text about Bronwyn and Todd. I mean, even though she can go hard on some of the girls sometimes, I think deep down she really is sweet and a caring person. Her friendship with Mary is really heartwarming to watch because I didn't think anyone would ever form like a true friendship with Mary that has more substance than just like coworkers on a show. And Angie seemed to be one of the only people that felt truly bad for the mean things she did say about Bronwyn and Todd in that season finale. I think it was totally uncalled for Lisa to bring Angie and her husband up in the completely unrelated drama Lisa had with Whitney at the end of the season. I felt bad for Angie because, hello, the gay rumors about Sean are so last season. Meredith, I think she had an okay season. Good, not great. Meredith's standout moment this season was definitely on the bus cursing out Brittany for recording them fighting. Her feud with Angie is tired. Like, get over it already. You guys would be much better as friends than you are as enemies. I do want to see what fun shenanigans and drunken escapades they could get into together if they join forces. I do think of the Salt Lake City, Meredith does have the best one-liners, and if only to get more out of her and her drunken slurring, I think she's like the modern day Luann de Lesseps. Not as cool, obviously, but the drunken escapades, I think she's kind of following Luann's footsteps. I think it's funny. So Lisa. Lisa is delusional as the day is long. The thing about Lisa, I can find enjoyment and fun in games with a delusional character, but the thing that bothers me most about Lisa is that she literally cannot take accountability for anything. I'm going to go the distance on this. I know her self-inflated ego makes her think everything is always about her and everyone's always picking on her, but she makes herself a target when you cannot own up to your own mistakes, any of them. You can't even hear other people out when they're trying to like get you to understand their side of things. It's frustrating to watch because you want to see growth. You want to see humbleness sometimes, and this is where Lisa always falls short. She could be so much more beloved, aside from her just delusional one-liners here and there. She could be the whole package, but that's not attainable if you're unable to look within and admit that, hey, if everyone constantly has issues with me, maybe I'm at least partly to blame. I think the sentiment is sweet that this season all of a sudden John is really trying to stick up for Lisa, but I think he misses the mark every time. John seems like a sweet guy and a pushover, which probably makes his relationship with Lisa work, but I'm sorry, I don't understand the relationship. It's as if Lisa's bullied him into sticking up for her, and he tries, Lord knows, and sees how he's trying. But I feel like it's always a miss and a little cringy. And there's no like real backbone or substance behind the words and actions he chooses in those moments. For Whitney, I think she had a pretty good season. She was standing 10 toes down that Lisa was her secret arch nemesis this season. And I think most cases it landed well, but the whole getting her information from the unreliable blogger or TikToker, I don't know. I would just need more receipts than this is just one blogger's word or the information he found out. Whitney was definitely on the outs this season with the main clique. It was heavily sided with the mean girls being Heather, Lisa, and Meredith, with Bronwyn flip flopping all over the place like a fish out of water. But I'm hoping that allowed Whitney to build stronger friendships with the other girls like Angie or even Bronwyn, because I think she's going to get continuously burned and played by Heather, especially if Heather still grips with all of her strength to stay in the cool clique. I have no doubt for 1 second Heather would throw Whitney's ass under the bus to keep her seat at the table. Mary, phenomenal season. Originally, when Mary came back the season prior, I was like, why? She doesn't give much. I mean, her judgy comments and clear disdain for pretty much the whole group is entertaining, but besides her funny one liners, I really didn't think she brought much to be desired. This season proved me so wrong. She was vulnerable, she was open, she was engaged, and all of that with her shady comments and observations. Mwah, chef's kiss. Obviously, her son's struggle with drugs and opening up about his personal struggles was really relatable, heartwarming, and proved that in the right times, Mary can be very inspirational and non judgy and even comforting. The conversation with Robert when he confessed to everything and basically asked for help, I don't think Mary could have handled that conversation better. Although I pray my kids don't go down that path or feel that way in the future, I can only hope my kids, when they're older, feel comfortable enough coming to me and talking to me about their struggles. And I gained a lot of respect for Mary throughout that whole interaction. And I hope Robert is still clean and happy and moving forward. Brittany, I don't even want to spend too much time on her because it's completely clear and obvious she just craves attention and recognition, but her hypocrisy and delusion is enjoyable as a friend only situation because the main cast spot is already filled with Lisa Barlow. I fear if Brittany sticks around, the girls will go after her like a pack of piranhas, but she's that one that so desperately wants to jump into their enclosure. It makes total sense to me that she was Heather's friend. Anyway, I think it was a great season. I can't wait for the next one. Do you guys think Jen Shaw will be returning in any kind of form? I know she's still in prison, but if she happens to get out before the filming, I think it'll be interesting to see if they bring her back in any sort of capacity. I don't think that they should. I think they should just kind of like wash their hands of it and move on. But um, yeah, it'll be interesting to see what direction they go with that. And the Valley is starting soon. I absolutely cannot wait for that. That'll be great. But thank you guys so much. I know this was a long one, but thanks for listening. And I will try to be back soon with more recaps or thoughts. And maybe the next one I'll have um, my Bravo G here with me, Hannah. So we will see you guys next time. As always, thanks for listening and love you so much. Bye.